I love this state more than anything. And it's been breaking my heart seeing so many good families, so many friends of mine leaving the state.
Mhm.
I want that to change.
Welcome to Local Living Tri-City, your go-to podcast for exploring the vibrant communities of Temecula, Murrieta, and Menifee. Join me, Liz Jones, as we dive into real estate insights and local business stories, bringing you closer to the heart of our Tri-City area. Let's get started with today's episode.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Local Living. I'm Liz Jones, your host, and today with me I have Tim Myers. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate
Yeah.
it.
Thank you for having me. This is
Uh,
great.
This is a special treat. I have not actually interviewed a musician, an entrepreneur, and I've actually talked to many public servants, but this is going to be exciting. So thank
I
you very
really,
much.
yeah,
We
thank
got
you.
Got a couple of minutes before we started this, and so I know that you're based out of LA.
Yes,
And for the viewers, I'd love to read your bio before we get launched.
of course.
All right, awesome. Okay. Well, Tim Myers is an American musician, singer-songwriter, record producer, best known for founding member of OneRepublic, founder of Palladium Records, and Myers had his 16 gold and platinum records. Wow. And has written and produced over 600 songs used in television, film, commercials, and he has written and produced songs for artists including Allo Block, I hope I said that right, Capital Cities, Barnes, Courtney, American Authors, Rooney Keisha, Echo Smith, OneRepublic, Joy Williams, James Arthur, Philip Phillips, Haley Steinfeld, and several others. In April of 2025, Myers announced his candidacy, congratulations,
Yeah.
for 2026 United States House of Representatives in election for the California's 41st congressional district, challenging incumbent Republican Ken Calvert.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. That's
Yeah.
so good for you. This is
Oh, thank you.
awesome.
Thank you.
Well,
It's
songwriter, public service. We got a lot to talk about here. Let's dive in. What's the story first from music to entrepreneurship? Tell me about that story.
absolutely. I mean, I grew up working class, being born and raised in Corona, California. My dad was a pastor at this church called Harvest Christian Fellowship. I'm not sure if you're,
Yeah,
yeah,
thanks,
a
Christian.
little bit. And it was wild growing up in that environment. Greg Laurie, I was best friends with Jonathan, his son, who is now a pastor.
Yes.
I would spend the night at their house all the time, and my dad was a big help in organizing the Harvest Crusades. But my dad is like old school pastor. He's not about the flash and trying to be a wannabe rock star.
Right.
Sometimes they can be like that. And my dad was all about families and giving. He worked with bereaved parents, like parents that lost children, that died from cancer or getting hit by a car. Like his heart is so huge. He's honestly the best man I know. And to be half the man he is would be an accomplishment for me. And so, I've led this crazy life, successful business, toured the country, all the gold records you mentioned, and all the accolades and things. And I'm 40 now. And so now I'm looking, okay, now what are the next 20 years? What are the next 30 years? And I really want to just give back and give a life of service, And I love coming back to where I was born and raised and spent the majority of my life to help others to be able to help them afford to buy a home. I'm a millennial. So many of my friends are moving out of state because they can't afford to buy a house. And I would just love to see families be able to buy a home and be able to live here. That's one of the main reasons I'm doing this is
That's
to
awesome.
help.
Well, and affordability is one of our topics. California is a tough one. I don't know if it could be fixed, but it is a tough challenge. And with a mindset of families and with service in the past, this is great. And obviously, you give from abundance, right? So you've already made it to the top. So you're giving from abundance. So that's awesome. Lessons might you have learned from the music industry that shape your leadership?
Yeah, absolutely. At this point, I've worked with thousands of different writers and producers and different business professionals in the music industry. It's very similar to what we're seeing right now. Like people just want to raise a family. They just want to be able to put food on the table, put gas in their tank, be able to afford to buy a home. And I think people right now are really, really upset at both political parties, to be honest. I have many, many Republican friends and many, many Democratic friends and many independent friends, but
Mhm.
we all kind of speak the same language that
Yeah.
something is wrong right now.
Broken. Something's broken. And
It needs to be fixed. And, just growing up working class, I want to represent my friends, my neighbors, the working class community and everything. So that's my
that would
mission.
be amazing because there are so many of us, and this has been a roller coaster ride for people all over the country, but mostly here in California. So
Absolutely.
incredible. Okay, was there a defining moment that made you consider politics, or was that
I
like,
think there was many, many different ones along the way. I helped out with this prop. One of the big ones for me was I helped out with this prop called Prop 28, and
Mhm.
it brought music and arts programs to all California schools. And so I kind of caught the bug with that. So the person, this guy named Austin Butner, who was kind of putting this together, was like, Tim, can you take the reins and put this together? And I ended up doing this. This sounds super Hollywood, but I did a fundraiser at Christina Aguilera's house and had all these people come out, and it raised millions of dollars for this. There was no opposition from anybody on the Republican side.
love
And
that?
that was my first entry into, like, passing something statewide and then seeing that happen. And then all kids in California being able to take music and arts programs. Like, it gave me chills just to see the difference that I was able to help make with others. So I definitely caught the bug,
That's
probably.
well, I, as a fellow Christian, I really understand that our gifts were given to us for a reason to use. And
Absolutely.
obviously yours accelerated into notoriety. And you drop your name, people show up, right? So you could use that power. I'm sure that God wants you to use that power in positive ways, right? Yeah, awesome. How has your business in as an entrepreneur now, obviously with Palladium Records and everything else going on, you probably have all these sub companies that you've developed. How will that help you in public service, in politics?
Yeah, I think, at the end of the day, again, it's like about people, right? And it's about meeting people where they are. So, I think hearing different people's ideas, hearing people's opinions, I'm a representative of others. In music, the way I operate my business is like, okay, artists are first, songwriters are first. The opposite of kind of what the major labels have done for years, is where they take advantage of them. And
Do they? I'd really love to hear how is that, because I guess the general public may or may not know that in your industry, in music industry, the artist doesn't have a voice. Is it the big?
absolutely. I think the problem with it is a supply and demand issue, as far as like there's so many millions of people that want to have the lucky break, right? And so labels understand that, and they're able to take advantage of a starving artist coming up and put them in these deals where they kind of sell their life away. And this has been happening from the very beginning. Like, this has been, you hear the stories of Motown and all these different things. And
So the voters are making the money, not the artists are making the money.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And starting my label, like, that was the main mission. I had been through three different major labels at that point. I had been with Universal and Columbia. So I'd been through the major system, and I knew how awful and hard it was for artists to make a living. And so I wanted artists to be first and have, the lion's share of everything. And we're here to support. And at any point, you can get out of your deal. You're not locked into anything. And it's worked out. Like, it's built this trust between me and the artist,
Like,
where they stay with me for 20 years because they know that I'm going to be able to help them make income for their music. And so it's great. It's really cool.
that's wonderful. I'm glad the success. Well, we talked about a little bit about your political motivation, but why the 41st district? Why target that instead of a mayor or something? What did you think about when you did?
Yeah, just being born and raised in Corona, and even just getting out there this weekend talking with folks. I probably talked to over 500 people, and
Wow.
I'm like, these are my people. These are my people, you know. I think it's interesting, like honestly feel a calling from God, and my heart is really placed here in particular in California. I'm third generation Southern Californian. I love this state more than anything, and it's been breaking my heart seeing so many good families, so many friends of mine leaving the state.
Mhm.
I want that to change.
Well, it's not only young people and their families leaving, but it's their parents who want to follow the grandkids leave. And my industry,
Absolutely.
I see that. And from an affordability, so just sidetrack, when somebody has a house that they've lived in most of their life, it gets more expensive to keep that house over time. Insurance costs, maintenance costs, etc. Insurance is crazy right now. We've seen, well, I know you probably see the numbers more than so, but just to give you an example of one house that I'm in occupying, we were at 23 and now we're at 8. And I know that a $500,000 house right now in just about every area, because we're almost all fire out here in Temecula, high fire, they're getting about $5,000 quotes. So that adds a sizable chunk to their
Yeah.
already tax rates. Any houses newer than 2015 have in the Riverside County area, have special assessments. So there's $1,000, $1,200, $1,300 onto their payment. And that's where the affordability goes away.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, not a lot we can do about it right now, but it is a consideration for long-term stability for people and to bring the families back.
Absolutely. I mean, we're feeling it all over California right now with the insurance rates just getting out of control. It's crazy. And we have the California Fair Plan, but I don't want to be dark, but what happens in these devastating events, where it just
Well,
decimates
we
everything?
have one,
Yeah,
right?
no, totally.
To the best of my knowledge, they're not solvent right now. We need more
Yeah,
money, so we need to
yeah,
give some blood to it.
yeah.
So, but from what I understand, they're starting to bounce people into commercial plans. Let's say if I'm a landlord and I'm in a high fire area, I may
Yeah.
not be renewed into California Fair Plan. They may say, okay, I got to give a homeowner a chance. There's no room for you. Go find a commercial policy elsewhere. So it might be a real interruption of patterns for people that are landlords renting. So
I
it's
mean, I would, love to see taxes come down for California homeowners. I know that's not a very Democrat thing to say, but
no, but
that's
it
what
could
I believe.
happen. Where it would happen is I've seen it. It's in we used to have a bond that was in the special assessment. It used to disappear. You're in your home 20 years. Now you buy a home that's, 20 years old, there's no special assessment. But
Mhm.
cities need the money, so they are
Yeah.
renegotiating those bonds and keeping it on there, and it just stays for a long time to
I
build
mean,
schools and things.
yeah, I mean, one of the things that I would, it's kind of out of the box, but it's something to explore is we're sitting on so much state land here
Yeah.
in California, like billions and billions of dollars. And we're also sitting on tons of government buildings that are literally empty right now. And they're empty because during COVID, they went more virtual. And so now these buildings are just in downtown LA and they're all over the place in Sacramento and Long Beach. We could convert those into affordable housing and we could get creative. We could work with private companies, but we could also do things as a state. We could lease out the land long term. I think there's a lot of things we could do that is outside the box. We just need to do it. We
I
just need
agree. And there's lots of nonprofits that would partner with the state.
to.
I know we have one in the area called Project Touch, and they partner with the local government and they get funds in and they purchase the buildings with the help of local government and loans. And
Yeah,
then they house many people that are, temporary housing
I
until they
love.
have better housing. Yeah, it's a really great program. I think they have more than 300 beds, two,
I'll have
300.
to check that out. That's
Yeah.
amazing. Uh,
Yeah, really wonderful.
I
Yeah.
mean, I'd
Wonderful.
even love to see schools. We have a lot of these schools where we have land that's just sitting there and it's been sitting there for decades, or it's parking lots, and they're not adding on to the school. Like maybe let's build some housing for teachers, right? Because our teachers aren't getting paid enough.
Nice idea. Yeah.
and they can have some housing there. So I don't know, we can really get creative and
I know that some of the local issues is you're going to find when you start to dive in that the money that's dispersed from the state goes to those regions that are really in the greatest need. So like Hemet will get a lot of money towards their school systems, right? Because
yeah,
they're underserved. And
yeah,
places like Temecula and Murrieta get very little money from the state because they're thriving, so to speak. But if you talk to the school administrators here, they feel that their equipment is now old and dated. They're forced to go out and fundraise with the parents to
mm,
replace equipment. Their portables are 30 years old, the portable rooms, right? They weren't designed for 30 years, right? They were designed for 20 years, less. So
yeah,
they're a need. And of course, we've got a bustling of new buildings here in our area. It's probably in every major city, including LA. But we've added 10,000 units to our area for subsidized housing, which will impact the schools. And we
mm,
just don't have enough space. So
yeah,
they're giving parents these alternate times to send their kids to school. So there's a whole mass of crazy going on that impacts middle class.
yeah,
And just figuring out what do you do with your kids if you're only got a half day of school and you got to get them there at 7:30 and they're home by 12. Now what? You know,
yeah, totally.
so
No,
so we
totally.
got a lot ahead of us.
Yeah, yeah, we have a lot to do, and I heard a stat just recently that almost a third of Californians are in or near poverty, which is
It's accurate. I think it's accurate. I mean, to right now, if I'm my understanding correctly, my lenders are telling me to buy a mid-size house in the Riverside Inland Empire, you need to make $140,000 household income, combined household income. It used to be 75. Now it's 145 or 140. So
a
that's
third.
a pretty good chunk of change. It used to be anyway,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
$270,000 a year, make it or one, but and now they're struggling. And most people, I can tell you, are asking for closing costs and putting down just 3.5% just to squeak by. And that's a $4,500 payment for them. And that's the basic, that's the bottom line. So it makes sense to keep on renting at that and keeping them in poverty forever. So that's hard. It's really hard. Well, let me get back to you. I'm sorry.
Uh,
I got off track. So once you get in, how do you plan to represent the diverse communities that are here in Riverside County? Boy, we've got a lot of diversity here.
Yeah, which I absolutely love. I mean, again, it's just listening to all the different voices. I love, the variety and the different people that are in the community, and it's so rich, right? It's a melting pot of all just different types of people. And yeah, listening to the different voices. What are the needs? How can I help? Like, what can I do to help you? And meeting people where they are. I'm seeing that throughout the district, all the different people I'm meeting. It's wild how diverse the district is. You go to Palm Springs and
The big,
yeah,
the
and
big
you go to Palm Springs and it couldn't be more different, in my opinion, than Corona. So being able to speak everybody's language and come to them where they are.
That's awesome. That's awesome. If you get in, how do you plan on addressing rising crime rates or any concern around public safety? Because public safety we're pretty good here in our region, our small little bubble of
Yeah.
Temecula, Murrieta, but you go outside of that and crime is rising, a lot.
I mean, crime has hit my family personally. So I have two daughters. I have a 10 and 13-year-old and my wife. And during Christmas, we were out Christmas shopping at the mall. And I hung out behind at the mall doing some more shopping. And my wife and daughters went back to their car. We drove separate and they have the bags and they're going back. And a guy in a ski mask and was reaching into his pocket, started chasing my wife. She jumps into the car,
Oh my gosh.
and I think it was a God thing. Something happened where he went to go to the window and the alarm went off. And she's like, I don't even know. I didn't press the alarm. It just went off.
Oh my
He
gosh.
got scared and ran off. But that was a big wake up call for
Yeah.
me. And the last couple of years, we've been seeing that in areas that you would never think crime was going on. People just looting, just losing, and people in ski masks and, COVID-19 mask or, a surgical mask going around. When I remember we were buying a car here and in LA, and a group of guys were just going around hitting cars with bats and things in the middle of the night, or not middle of the night, but just like at 7 p.m., 8 p.m.
Just anger, right?
Just anger, and no one's doing anything. Like no one's arresting them. They just run off. I know I'm being dark, but like this isn't the California I grew up in, in Corona, biking through the orange. My parents would just let me go bike and skateboard. I'd skateboard to church at Crossroads Church, and
I was there last week.
and my parents weren't worried. We didn't have cell phones. They just knew I was going to come back and everything's all good. And it's different now. Like I would never let my kids go do
No.
that. And
My husband tells a story, and he's much older than you, but he goes out. He used to go from Corona, and he drove all the way to the beach on his bike.
no way.
Full time.
Wow.
His parents just knew he'd come back. So all the back roads. So yeah, it's a very different place. Part of that might be a surge of people.
Maybe. California has always been growing. I think, honestly, I mean, in my opinion, I think we need to be harder on crime, just period.
I agree.
And like, we can't just be doing these slap on the wrist things.
I
And
agree with that 100%. And I think that it's just like parenting, if you're not firm with your kiddos, if they don't know the boundaries, they're going to keep doing whatever they do until they get away with more, right? It grows. So
yeah.
I agree with that.
I'm hopeful though. I mean, I see a real movement honestly happening here in California, and people coming across the aisle talking with each other, being like,
I'll feel this.
yeah. I've even heard of political consultants reaching across the aisle that are Republican to Democrat, like want to make this happen. We all kind of believe the same thing. Like we want it to be,
Totally.
and we know it's a mess right now. So I think I'm hopeful this cycle, 2026, 28, as we keep continuing going, I know we're going to get a better California and it'd be a better place, and we're the fourth largest economy in the world, the people here aren't feeling that, right? It's the people at the top that are feeling it. And I know we're going to get there. I think it's just a matter of time.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. So let's go into your campaign, because you're probably now campaigning. So what kind of campaign are you running? Is it a grassroots or donor based or mix, or what kind of campaign are you running?
Honestly, the grassroots outpouring has been more than I ever imagined. I think we've had at this point over 4,000 people give to the campaign
Oh, my Lord.
in just a matter of weeks. And these are working class people. They're giving $10, $50. Like they're not giving thousands of dollars. This is just
That's the
grassroots.
way, yeah, that's the way it's done.
And it's been amazing, to hear the love and support from people on social media, but also just through the giving, and everyone that I'm meeting. They're hopeful. They're hopeful for change. They're hopeful for something different. And even though, like the things we discussed, it's dark, there's light at the end of the tunnel.
Absolutely. Well, when good people, and honestly, I think that our political system as a whole has had so many long-term political candidates that you get into a rut, just in a job too. You get into a rut and you don't have fresh ideas. When
Yeah.
youth comes into any kind of position, they bring new ideas, new ways of doing things. And of course, you're serving the people that are your age, and it'll eventually spill over to the people that are older like me. And so I think it's good. I think it's great that our youth is now getting into public service like this. I couldn't be happier.
Honestly, it's mind blowing. I was never on TikTok, and now seeing on TikTok, Gen Z, they're so politically active and they want to see.
Oh, I did not even know that.
It's it's trending right now as far as the political conversations. They're really into it. There was something about this election that made them go, "What's going on?" Like,
Yeah, exactly. Now that they see things.
yeah.
Interesting. How can people of the district get involved to help you with your campaign?
Yeah, so obviously, like, I would love for you guys to give, whoever's listening right now, and you can go to timmyersforcongress.com. And like we were talking about, like, the smallest amount makes the hugest difference right now. We're doing something grassroots. We're creating a movement in this area. And so if, whatever I'm sharing resonates, we would love for you to give. But also next year, we're going to be door knocking. We're going to be meeting with folks. We're going to do, meet and greets. We're going to do house parties. We'd love for you to come out, and you can sign up on timmyersforcongress.com. And I'd love to meet you in person and talk with you.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. I am sure you're going to have an outpouring of people that want to participate. So this has been so terrific to get a chance to meet you. You're very genuine, very caring. I love your insights and your heart. And I'm sure that if you get elected, you will serve the people with your heart and soul. So I'm
Thank
very, very excited for you.
you so much. I appreciate you having me on.
You bet. Thank you so much for your time today.
Have a good one.
Thank you for listening to Local Living Tri-City. Stay tuned for more insights and stories from Temecula, Murrieta, Menifee, and surrounding areas. Be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with a friend that is passionate about the Tri-City area as you are. Goodbye for now, and we'll see you next episode.